But let me tell you, we're a peaceful people, struggling, we struggle. I mean, I look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside places, from foreign places, talk about taking over, being backing down. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. Boom, bam, bam, boy. Bam, 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 boy. I will love the open country of the roof and honey and the Essequibo, the time of night. Don't be criticizing. This is the home we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not no one to sake, not one rice bread, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamun, not a drop of water from the pomeroon, not one breadfruit, not one white tea, not one guinea, not one lime tree, not a one sapodilla, not one Caroline, not one sugar cane, or a dry of lime, not one sherriga, not one cracate, not one guinea, not one blue sake, not one rice bread, and it's really all you ask, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now. We're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow, but never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we're moving from here. Make no mistake. So we ain't giving up the mountain, and we ain't giving up the tree, and we ain't giving up the river. That belongs to we. Not the one to sake, not the one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. Every time we sing this song to our Guyanese audience, a chorus does break out. And here is your chorus to break out. All you're trying to sing. You don't come here to sit down and listen, you come here to sing. 1, 2, 1, 2. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. And we ain't giving up. Alright. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not the one blue sake. Not the one rice grain. Not one for us. One more time. Not a blade of grass. Let me hear you. No, we ain't giving up no mountain. Yes. No, we ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not the one who sang. Now we ain't giving up no mountain. Now we ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not the one who sake. Not the one rice bread. Not one for us. Not a blade of grass. We have come to the almost to the end. We have one more song to do, and I just want to tell you briefly that this song is a song that came out of a fete we played in New York about 3 years ago. Maybe some of you were there, I don't know. But it was a night when it was a magic night. It was a Guyana night, and people were nostalgic about Guyana. And I was moved by it, and went back to Cayman and wrote a song. We come across the Caribbean Sea, mother, father, picnic, and we settled down in GT. Why ho! We sat down in the pouring rain, in the hot sun and the sugar cane, and we planted the rice and cane. Why ho! Yes, we take off the boots and we put on the roots. Why ho! So remember the crabwood that grow in Essequibo is real. And the zigzag round pea and the saki is we own. And the lava that run from the fire gun is we own. And the wall of a post on the current coast is we own. I had the wandering crab is we own. Truly Benab is we own. Human Ayana is we own. Franco Rider is we own. Arapaima is we own. Human Ayana is we own. Whether grow or whether pleasant, we know the pagua and confidence, and we know how to wine and prance. Why oh, and they celebrate Diwali, and when it's time for Mashramani, it's party, party, party. Why oh, yes, we know how to get to the underwear wet. Why oh, I said the ramble that grows in a sacred is real. And the 6 o'clock beat, and the Sandy Winky is we own. And the lava that run from the fire gun is we own. And them all of a post on the quarantine post is we own. Partner Penus is we own. Five finger juice is we own. Human Ayana is we own. The Sematu vine is we own. And the masquerade wine is we own. Human Ayana is we own. Listen to me, chip, sugar cake, and saltfish and bait is we own. Mutton curry and 2 pearl is we own. Or be a nice black pudding and rice is we own. Coconut metachi and wiri is we own. Babulala rich and with the quota in the hand is we own. Alexander Willie and the blue dashiki is we own. Frank Diminis and the boom boom cheese is we own. And the fella in tongue named Lee Funky Funk is we own. And the fellas in the tree watching cricket for free is we own. And the brother in the night preaching Jordan night is we own. And Mary and Paul up on the seawall is we own.
Oh, well, good evening and welcome to Politics 101 on a Monday evening beginning the week. Sad note, Dave Martins and the Trade Winds, household name in Guyana. Dave Martins passed away yesterday. We've played his music here on this program several times, and Not a Blade of Grass will be sung by Guyanese for generations to come. Those of us who are old enough to remember in the early 1980s when he first sang that song. Dave Martins and the trade wind. The word icon has been used, and it's fitting because he is he is certainly one of our greatest gifts to mankind. Dave Martin and the Trade Winds. Some of us grew up with Dave Martins. I remember as a schoolboy, remember singing Dave Martin's music with such pride because we are the generation, the independence generation, and we were making that transformation from colonial vibes and colonial music to our own music, our own literature, our own art. And Dave Martins was up there. I can't I can't think of what the last 60 years, 50 years in Guyana would be without Dave Martin. He was there, always that voice, making us laugh, making us smile, making us think, and urging us to stand up for Guyana. Dave Martin, dead at 90, as we say, everyday souls are passing away, everyday souls are passing away. Um, as you're born, you begin to die, the dialecticians would say. And Dave Martin lived to 90 years, 20 years more than the Bible, the Christian, three scores and 10. He lived to 90. And I remember a few years ago, I called him and I said, Dave, I want to ask you a favor. And he said, what? I said, can you come to Buxton and play for our emancipation activity? He said, David, all you have to do is to get a stage and to get electricity, and I will be there and I will play for Buxtonians. And he came. I think it was 2018. I may be getting the years mixed up to 2018 or 2019. And he came and he played. And that man played for 2 hours straight and didn't ask us for a cent. Not 1 cent. Not 1 cent. As at emancipation time, we have to pay our artists, and because that's their living. And I'm not saying that our cultural workers should not be paid. None of them charge us full price. But Dave Martin came and he didn't charge us a blind cent. And he played for 2 hours straight. Our condolences to his family, to his wife, who I came to know well because I would run into them always and always with chat. The last time I saw him, I think, was a year ago at the Georgetown Club. I was there to do an interview with Ron Robinson, and he came in, and the last time I saw him, I think it was last year, July or August. Understand that he had been alien, but such is life. We give thanks. We give thanks for his life. Always when someone of that stature passes away, it makes us think as a country. As a country. Dave Martin has a song, Where Are Your Heroes, Caribbean? And he was certainly one of our heroes, and I hope we don't forget him. I hope we don't forget him. I hope we don't forget him. Dave Martin and the Trade Wind.
Through his unique style of music, Dave Martins told many stories, from describing boyhood days to a certain Not a Blade of Grass. He composed lyrical masterpieces, many of which narrated what it means to be a Guyanese. So, how did he piece his hits together? Let's find out.
Hi, my name is Dave Martins. I am a West Coast country boy, born and raised at Hague and later at Vredenhoek. I am 87.
I know you have a very popular song called Boyhood Days, and they said you said time cannot erase, so I must bring you back to this very important question here. What were your boyhood days like?
My boyhood days was actually a lot like most boys. Looking for birds, chewing gum, sapodilla gum from the tree to trap birds, bird traps. Scouting the yard looking for guavas, fruit trees. And I was living close to the seawall. We lived in Hague. The seawall was in the backyard. So I'd be on the beach or not in the water too much. The water it was kind of muddy. My father was away a lot because he had a farm in the Pomeroon, which took his time, full time. I would go down and spend some time with them, especially holidays. But so it was mostly my mother and myself and my sisters. I have no brothers. I have four sisters.
And you are the second youngest. And you are the second youngest.
No, I'm the third child. Yeah, 3 sisters before me, and then 1 sister after me. Where I live, there was very few guys my age in that area, so I had no boyhood friends, so to speak. This is when we moved to Vredenhoek, when I started going to Saints, and I moved to Vredenhoek because it's more convenient, and I became friends with the Henry brothers, some Douglas people that lived down the road from us. We were friends up to now. We became pals. So when I started the band, 2 of them were in the band. That was the band before Trade Winds. It's a long, gradual process for me, music. It didn't happen overnight. Listen to the music in the house, or the music listening to me, one or the other. A lot of old 78s, but radio. A lot of it was radio. That ignited my interest in the music, and the radio stations, as now, played a variety of music. So from that music, I was listening to it mostly at Vredenhoek, some of it at Hague, but more at Vredenhoek days. I was listening to all kind of music, jazz, rock and roll, classical, a lot of classical. I became interested in classical music because I was drawn by the long structures, classical pieces that go on. One piece will go on for 15 minutes, And I was drawn to that. I don't know why. I just was, And I think so. A lot of that interest, when I started to write, I was going in that direction. I was going towards more descriptive work rather than a lot of popular music is instantaneous work, about bang, bang, bang. But the wider music, classical music, is more extended. It goes over long periods. And that always interested me. It's not always the most commercial music, but it interested me from young.
Dave Martin there in his own words. We, of course, we'll do a special program on Dave Martin and his music. His music, of course, touched all of us because we can see ourselves and hear ourselves in his lyrics. Boy, you do is when he talk about all those things that boys did and girls did. I mean, you were in the lyrics, and quite a loss, but he has left a rich legacy, and we are thankful. Good evening to you all. Please share the live. Please share the link. Tonight we want to talk about poverty, and we want to talk about what we're gonna do about poverty. It's a real problem. The poverty rate in Guyana is set to be around 38.9% or thereabout, and they are measuring the poverty rate based on $5.50 US dollars. That is $1,100 per day. So the percentage of Guyanese in 2024 were living on 1,100 Guyana dollars per day is 39%. So we're saying two out of every 10 Guyanese are living in poverty. Some people are telling me that the numbers are even higher. In 2019, it was pegged at 48%, and they're saying it has come down now to 38%. Almost 40% of people living in poverty in Guyana. Some people, like I said, saying that is conservative, that the poverty rate is more like 50% of Guyanese, but the World Bank is pegging it at 38.9% in 2024. It is alarming because it is one of the highest in the Americas, one of the highest in the Americas, and one of the highest in the Caribbean. And this is for a region where the poverty rate is high. So even in a region where the poverty rate is high, Guyana's poverty rate is one of the highest. I think we're maybe just above Haiti. But when you juxtapose that against the growth rate in Guyana, then it does not make sense. If the growth rate in Guyana is what it is, high growth rate, just 2 years ago, the growth rate in Guyana was pegged at 60-odd%, I think. For the last year, it has come down to about 38% growth rate. But I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, whether it's 38% or 68%, that's high. Big developing countries struggle to get a growth rate of 5%. So if we have that high growth rate and a higher, so we have a growth rate, as they say, I think this year of 30-odd%, and our poverty rate is 40%, and that's conservative. It means something is wrong. Something is wrong. And what is wrong has to be the mediating force. You have high growth rate and you have high poverty rate. It means that those who are managing the country are doing something wrong. Those who are managing the country are doing something wrong. Because logic tells us that high growth rate should mean low poverty rate, low unemployment rate. The World Bank is putting on our unemployment rate at 12 to 12 point something percent. And that may be accurate, but you have unemployment. That's people who can find work, who not working. And then you have underemployment. Those are people who are working, but are not earning a living wage, hence the poverty rate. If people are living in poverty in the fastest growing economy in the world, that is saying that the government is not investing in people. The government is not investing in poverty reduction. And this is where we want us to begin to think. We have to begin to think about our people. So I heard Mr. Jagdeo say over and over again that yes, the cost of living is high, inflation is high, and so on and so forth, and that his government has been doing a lot. They have reduced taxes on certain items. They have subsidy on certain things, electricity and so on. So the argument is that people don't have to pay more for these things. And so the argument is then that if you subsidize certain things, if you remove taxes from certain imports and so forth, that this is going to trickle down to the consumer. Reality has shown that that does not necessarily happen. And so therefore we are saying that the way you deal with cost of living, the way you deal with poverty, because cost of living is a real problem and is linked, of course, to poverty. That the way you do that is that you put the money directly in the hands of the citizens. That the prices in the market are determined by the market. And governments do not try to control the market. Governments, for the most part, allow the market to do its thing. And the prices we see in the market has to do with the dynamics of the market. And Jagdeo is saying that the way you deal with that is that you put some subsidies on some things, and so people don't have to pay so much electricity, and people don't have to this, and you put some lower the taxes on certain imports and so on and so forth. And we are saying, but that is not leading to relief for the people. And so that is why we are saying you have to put more money in people's hands. That the more money people have, the more they're going to be able to afford things in the market. And that will bring the cost of living down. And there are ways that you can put money in people's hands. Since 2018, Professor Clive Thomas and the WPA put a proposal on the table. We say take 10% of what you're getting from oil and you give it, you divide it among each household. I noticed Brother Nigel is saying divide it, give it to each individual. You know, we are saying that may be okay, but we are saying give it to each household. And the household, if you give it to each household, that household will get more. We have about 220,000 households, and Professor Clive Thomas calculated in 2018 that given what the oil that we had at that time and that we were forecasted to have, that it would come up to approximately 5,000 US, which is $1 million Guyanese dollars per year. Now we are talking about 18 billion barrels of oil, and we think it's closer to 30 billion barrels of oil. The oil companies are not going to tell us how many barrels of oil are forecast. But experts are saying that we have close to 30 billion barrels. The government is now saying it's about 18 billion. We think it's close to 30 billion barrels. And so we think that if you take 10% of even what you're getting now, and you divide it among the 230,000 households, people could get in excess of 5,000 US, $1 million. Now, if that money gets into the hands of those people who are earning less than $5.50 a day, they're earning less than $1,100. Today, imagine that. 40% of our population that's earning less than $1,100 a day. If you divide $1 million Guyana dollars, if you divide $1 million Guyana dollars by the 365 days in the year, it will be much more than the $1,100 they're earning now. And if those people get that in addition to what they're earning, they're on their way out of poverty because they're going to be able to afford more. We had the shocking news the other day that our people are not getting the requisite nutrition that they're supposed to get. Part of it has to do with the fact that they can't afford to buy the nutritious food. They just can't. How are you earning $1,100 a day? How are you going to be able to afford nutritious food with $1,100 or less? Because there may be people who are earning $500. I'm hearing a pound of sugar in the interior is $500. So the cash transfer is there on the table. If the government were to implement that today, and the person who is earning $1,100 per day, which is $5,000 per week, $20,000 per month, that's $100 US per month. $1,200 per year. And our calculations with the cash transfer will come to the equivalent of $5,000 per year. The person is now earning 40% of Guyanese, according to the World Bank. They are now earning $1,200 US per year. Why the government is not giving cash transfers? Because it is not interested in getting rid of poverty. You see, to get rid of poverty, and you run around with your $40,000 and a fried rice, as they do in most African Guyanese community. A person who is getting the cash transfer plus what they're earning, they would not be susceptible to a fried rice and a $40,000. That wouldn't excite them because they already have enough, which is good. They will turn their backs on the fried rice. So the PPP does not want to get rid of poverty. Because if it gets rid of poverty, then it can go around the place like a Father Christmas, sharing away $20,000 and $30,000 and parading our women when they collect a $40,000 for their children, school books and school uniform, and get them parading themselves like long-time slaves. If they get the cash transfer, they don't need your $40,000. Are we going to get rid of poverty? If we get rid of poverty, if we can guarantee our people a living wage, that the cash transfer is a top up. You're earning less than $550 a day, and you get your cash transfer, is a top up. It's more than a top up. It's more than a top up. You are now able to afford things you couldn't afford. You are now able to afford nutritious food. I'm just giving you all the bare numbers here. Yeah? I remember when Professor Thomas came out with it, people on our side of the thing, the coalition, they said it couldn't work. People are going to spend it out and they're going to drink it out and smoke it out. But you tell me that woman who works on some store in Water Street or who doing watchman work and earning less than $550, less than $1,100 a day, and she puts her hand pan a $1 million that she gonna go to the weed man and say, give me $40,000 in weed. There is passport, people. There's passport, people. I see it every day. I see it every day. You know, these days, as you all know, after funeral is a party. People, you know, the people there with their drink stalls selling their drinks and so on. And the usual thing, you know, buy beer and so on and thing. And when I go to funeral, I would buy beer for people and so on. And so many women will pull me aside and say, David, me I want beer. Give me the money so I can buy things to cook tomorrow. So what are you telling me? What are you telling me that they're going to spend it out on weed and rum? I see it every day, and I'm sure most of you Some of you from overseas go home. You see it every day. Women, mostly women, who would say, me I want bear David. Don't make nobody say, give me the money. Me gonna buy thing for cook tomorrow. I experience that every single day. So I know our people are going to take that money and going to spend it on weed and spend it on beer and so on. I'm not saying that people won't buy beer. But I'm saying to think that people are going to take $1 million and spend it on, go and give it to the weed man. Anyhow, we didn't implement it and we lost power. I think some of the people who had reservations about it have today recognized that it is the way to go. And the WPA is saying that that is our signature campaign platform. We want to end poverty in Guyana. And we are saying we can end it. We can end it over the next 2 or 3 years. Poverty is coming down. It was 69% in 2006. And it's now, so that was about 70%, is now 40%. So it took 2 decades, 18 years, for poverty to come down 20%. So we're not saying poverty don't come down. What we are saying is that if you target poverty, well, you gotta wait 20 years for it to come down, we can bring it down in 3 to 5 years if we begin to give cash transfer today. And that is why we are saying, we are asking you to support our plan and support our party to get into government so that we can implement this thing and begin to end poverty. We can end poverty in 3 to 5 years with that plan of cash transfer. In addition to cash transfer, we want to implement a universal basic income. That is, now each individual, each adult would be guaranteed a basic income. Here is an income. The government is giving you this income. So you have your cash transfer. You have a basic income the government is giving you. This is on top of your income that you are drawing if you're in the private sector. If you're working in the private sector not earning much, you're not going to be guaranteed a basic income. What that means, if the government is giving you a basic income that is above the poverty line, it means when you go in and looking for work, you ain't going to accept no salary, no wage below that basic income. So the government basic income is going to force the private sector to up their income, because people aren't going to go and work for them for anything below the basic income. The Working People's Alliance is saying we are interested in getting rid of poverty. You know, when you live among people, poverty is not a theoretical thing. It's a real thing. At an individual level, I spend time around poor people. I talk to them, I ground with them on a daily basis. And I know their circumstances. So poverty is not a theoretical thing for people like me. It's a practical thing. I always wonder, I tell you about tell you all about, you go to a funeral, you go to a wake, you go to activities in the village, and people are selling there. And you kind of say, let me figure this thing out. They're selling a beer for $400, a GT for $400, a Banks. And you're saying, how much they're buying it for? Maybe they're buying it for $300. I'm assuming. Or even if they buy it for $200, I don't know. But they can't be buying it for less than $200. I think it's more $300. So for every beer they sell, they're making $100. So they got sell a 100 beer to make $10,000. That's 4 cases of beer. $10,000. And it's not like every day, because they're only going out and sell when they get a funeral or a wake or whatever the case may be. So sometimes when they make the 10,000, if they sell 100 beer, I think they sell less than that. If they sell 100 beer, because remember, they're competing stands out there. And if they sell 100 beer for $10,000 and they make a $10,000 profit, and they ain't got no activity to go and sell the beer for the next 4 days, so that $10,000 gonna last them for four days. It comes down to $2,500. It comes down to the same thing. They're almost there on the poverty line. If you sell 50 beer, it's $5,000. And that $5,000, if that guy lasts, for 5 days, it's $1,000 per day. That is why the World Bank is saying that most of our people are living on $1,100 per day. I want you all to understand what's happening with you all people. And 40%, some people are saying 50% of our people have to live like that. I at a personal level, like I said, I would spend a couple of dollars, buying, a beer, 2 beer for people and so on, and my villagers, my friends and so on. But in my head, I am putting some money in somebody's pocket to go and buy something for their children the next day or even the same night. We don't want our people to scrunt like that. We are saying that that lady with the old fridge, with them beer and things selling there, could now buy a vehicle or something where she now has a mobile snacket. She ain't got to get an old fridge and get a donkey pulling it and she can only sell when they get wake and funeral and so on. No, she has a proper snacket. She get $1 million. And she can invest in that and move that small business, micro business, to a real small business. So we want you all to support the universal basic income. We want you all to support the cash transfers. Not going wrong and sharing a $20,000, $30,000. When you go wrong and share $30,000 to people, by the time you click your fingers, so that's gone. You're not doing anything to help their condition. You're putting a little patch. And you're asking them to bow down to you. We are saying, go to Parliament, pass a law that says 10% of our oil income, whatever it is. Maybe it will be less than $1 million. It may be $800,000. But it's $800,000 what people don't have and that they can use. So many, you go through, one of the things that, look, people building places, that is true. I go through the villages and I see people putting up the little bit, but a lot of those buildings are not finished because people don't have the money to finish them. Sometimes people start the house, they do a little part, they live in there, and they wait until they get some money from overseas or to finish the house. And so a year passed, 2-3 years. So many people can finish their little house if they get a cash transfer of $1 million next year. The idea is to pull people out of poverty. Because a shadow said poverty is hell. It weighs down. And the beautiful thing about the cash transfer, our cash transfer to each household and the universal basic income, is that it goes to each household regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of class. Now, there are rich people who don't want, who wouldn't want a cash transfer. But when they get it, they will have to pay taxes on it. So the government gets back some of what it is giving. Yes, rich people don't want it. But in order to be democratic, in order not to leave out anybody, you give to everybody. Some people say targeted. You target it to the poor. All right, good. So if you target to the poor and you say, you're giving it to people who are earning $100,000 or less. What about the persons who are earning $105,000? You left them out. Their condition is not different from a person earning 100. So this thing about targeting it, you will run into trouble. If you give to everybody, you leave out nobody. You give to each household, you leave out no household. So we are targeting everybody. And the rich people will pay back in taxes because they're already making plenty money. And then you give them the cash transfer, they got to pay back in taxes. And if they don't want it, they can give it to a poor family. So we are saying that that is the way to go. Put money in our people's pockets. Put money in our people's pockets. And then in addition to a universal basic income and the cash transfer, law by law, so you get your check. Just as you go every month to collect your old age pension, you go, whether it's every month you're going to get this check or every year you're going to get it, you go and collect your thing. By law. You ain't got to bow down to nobody. Yes, you will say, good, thanks, Professor Thomas. Thanks, David Hines. Thanks, WPA, for doing this for us, because you all are manly people. Thanks for putting forward this initiative. Yes. But we're not coming around and telling you this is WPA money and this is Clive Thomas money. No. You go and draw your thing because it's your thing. And you may want to vote for us at the election if you want to. But we're not saying to you before you get this, you got promised me to join the WPA or no. That's what the PPP is doing. And we're not going into one community and give $40,000 and then go into another community and give $100,000. No. Every household, regardless of Amerindian, Portuguese, African, East Indian, every household gets the same amount. That is democracy. That is multiracialism. That is equity. And then on top of that, we got to deal with the question of wages. It is unacceptable to be a teacher and earning $100,000 a month. $100,000 a month, divide that by 30 days a month. You are talking about somebody working a teacher, working for approximately $3,000 per day. Remember, the poverty line is $1,100 per day. If you're working for $3,000 per day as a teacher, you're working for a little bit more, a little bit above the poverty line. And you're getting tax on that $100,000. A friend of mine sent me a list today. She's a teacher. And she said at times, I want you to see what teacher thing. And she is buying or sewing new clothes because school gonna open just now. And she sent me the list to look at. The list the total come up to $44,000 for about 5 or 6 new outfits to go to school. So you're working for $100,000. School beginning, the barest minimum, $44,000, you're already spending to buy 4 or 5 new outfits. Half for your first, all for your salary gone there in just buying clothes. And not plenty clothes. Because teachers, you can't go into teachers, you can't go to school and looking nasty and dressing properly. Especially women. They got dressed up. And this teacher is saying, just 5 outfits. I'm going to wear one Monday, one Tuesday, one Wednesday, one Thursday, one Friday. That's just 1 week. Next week, you can't wear back the same thing. So, our teachers, they got to pay transportation. If they got a car, they got to pay a car note. If they're living in a house, they got to pay a mortgage. If they're renting, they got to pay house rent. Then they got children who they got buy clothes to go to school. You got 3-4 picnic. You got buy the clothes to go to school. You got find food. How on earth can our teachers be expected to live on $100,000 and the government's giving you 10% of that, which is $10,000. So you're raising the salary from 100 to 110,000. What kind of madness is that? So we are saying we got to raise the wages of public servants. We have to. Teachers are asking for 40%, 38.9. Let me put it wrong, it off at 40% raise. A 40% raise on 100,000 is $40,000. So your salary can go from 100,000 to 140,000. To a poor person, that is not adequate. But it's much more than 10,000. We are saying the teachers asking for 38.9% is just. It's just. But it is barely enough. And the teachers should stick to that because the government can afford it. You know, one of the things that get me mad, and I just want to, sometimes when I hear Jack Dew on them, we are going to spend another $89 billion, another $89 billion. They're taking all the money they're spending. They give everybody a $20,000 and they add up all the money and they say, look, big money, big money. They're not saying we are giving each teacher $10,000. Or the graduate teacher. Because they like to talk about the graduate teachers. And I think the graduate teachers earn about $300,000 if you get a degree, a master's degree. I think you get up to $300,000. 10% of $300,000 is $30,000. So you're going from 300 to 330. And those teachers who went to UG to do their bachelor's and do their master's, still, some of them still owe UG. Two of my teachers' friends send the UG bill to me. Big money. They're still paying. So although they're graduate teachers and they're earning more, in order to pay for that bachelor's and master's, they get a debt on their hand. So our public servants need a substantial raise in salary. And we are saying, if you get $40,000 raise in your salary, you're earning $100,000, you're going to $140,000. You get a cash transfer of $1 million, and then you get a basic income. You're on your way out of poverty. You have enough income to cover your basics, and maybe you have some disposable income left. Sisters and brothers, this is the WPA plan. I always hear people ask, is what WPA bring to the table? But I'm starting here on this program. We are starting to tell you what we bring to the table. We bring to the table plans and policy and a vision for our country. And the vision of our country is one of prosperity, not based on words and theory, but based on actual plans and policies. In order for us to do that, we have to get into government. And this thing in the past where we walk our asses off like jackass, and then at the end of the day, they say, look, WPA, look a ministry, look a one seat in parliament. No, the days of that are over. You know, WPA is the intellectual party. They bring intellectual. Yeah, we do bring intellectual stuff. But we are saying to you all now, you all got to support the policies, and you all got to support it with your bodies. You all got to join the party. You can join as members. You can join as member supporters. You can join as members and member supporters and work behind the scenes, because a lot of people, if you're a public servant, that $100,000, you depend on that for your life. If you're a public servant, if you're a teacher, and you're earning the $100,000 a month. If they spite you and knock you off, You have no other income. You can't walk from that job and go into another job. So we understand why our people don't come to the front. We're not stupid. But you join the party who want to come to the front, we're going to move to the front. You join the party, you want to contribute in ways that help. If you're an economist, you're a financial person, you want to contribute to help us to develop our financial and economic policy, come and join the party and work in the committee to help us develop policy. If you're an educationist, because we want to develop an education plan, come into our party and help us. One sister called me last week. It took me a few days to get back to her. And she insisted until I called her about 3 or 4 days after. And what she wanted to talk to me is about education, about education policy. And persons like that, you don't have to be a carrying member. Come in as a supporter and help us to develop an education policy. We have ideas, but we got to put the ideas together in policy. You want to be a candidate at the regional level, come into our party. And become a part of our slate of candidates. Of course, if we are going as part of a coalition, we still have to contribute candidates to that slate. One of the criticisms that they've made of our announcement last week is that it's a set of old men. All right, good. Well, this is one old man who's saying, young people, come. Come into this party. Come into our party. We need young people. Come into the party. And we are going to find usefulness for every member supporter to contribute. Women, come into our party. The law in Guyana says each party has to, its slate of candidates, 30%, at least 30% of that slate of candidates must be women. That's the law of Guyana. You know who initiated that idea and who got it into our constitution, who led the way with it? WPA. We are responsible for that law. So women, come into our party. We're asking people to join us to strengthen our ideas, because the ideas are there. And as we saw the last time, we do the ideas, we do the manifesto, we contribute to the manifesto, we contribute to this, we contribute. And when the thing done, they say, look, I want seed for your intellectual energy. But we want to take more than intellectual energies now. And there's enough to share around. Look, some of you all are disappointed at the PNC and Norton. And for whatever reason, I hear people stop me and they tell me that. And I'm saying, that's okay. You have choices in the opposition. You don't got to go and join the PPP. Or you don't got to decide that you're going to steal on election day. You have other parties in the opposition that are committed. You have the WPA, you have the AFC. And I'm not canvassing it for the AFC, but if you don't like the WPA, if you think WPA too radical or, whatever you think about WPA, you have choices. You have the PNC, you have the AFC. And I know people of other parties won't talk like this. But I can talk like this because I'm a realist. I'm not canvassing for other parties. I'm not canvassing for the AFC. I'm not canvassing for the PNC. They can do that on their own. They can do that better than being the WPA. They have more resources. But I am a coalition person. I'm a coalition person. And I feel that ultimately it will be best if we go into this election as a coalition. I can't wring the hands of my other partners. I can't break their hand and say coalition. But I'm telling you where we stand. We feel it's best if we can go as a coalition and maximize our capacity. And so I have no compulsions whatsoever in saying that if you don't like the WPA, then like the PNC or the AFC. I prefer you do that than to lie down home and say you aren't participating in the system. Or God forbid, to say you're going and vote PPP. And I think if we were realistic on the opposition side, and we approach this thing in a comradely way, we will go a long way. First of all, we have to have a fair election. And when we look at what's happening now, with that voters list, and that no biometrics and so on, that's not a level playing field. So we've got to struggle for better conditions. But if we struggle for better conditions, we must prepare for elections. You can't say we wait until we get biometrics, until we get a proper voters list, before we start preparing for elections. That's stupid talk and stupid plan. You fight for it. You fight for it. You fight for better conditions, and you prepare for election. That is what the WPA is doing. The ideal thing for us is before the elections, for us to agree to an end to winner-take-all politics. So that at the end of the election, if we get 52% of the vote, we get 52% of parliament, 52% of cabinet. If the PPP get 42, they get 42% of cabinet, 42% of thing. People think that when we talk about power sharing, we are sharing somebody else's power. No, we're not sharing nobody's power. You all give us 52, 55% of the vote. That's we power. And we're not sharing that with nobody. That's we power. The other side gets 40 how much? That's their power. We're not sharing somebody else's power. We are making sure the power you give us must not leave us outside of decision making. You're giving us 52%, 55% of the decision making. If we were sitting in this government, you think the government could have put on any alternative event at Martino's or wherever, Sophia? No, because we would have been sitting along there and say, you are not using government money to do this, to take your eyes and pass back people. If we were in government, you think the government could be pussyfooting and giving the teachers 10%? No, because we are at the table and we have the majority at the table. We're going to be able to say to them, no, you got to give them the 39%. But we are outside of power, although 49% according to the TFIN election vote for we. In a TFIN election, we get 49%. But we can do nothing with that 49%. Our parliamentarians dress up nice, they go to parliament, they object to things, but they can change nothing. They can change nothing. Not one law, not one motion, not one bill put by the opposition pass Parliament in 4 years. I'm not saying that we should not go into Parliament, but we should make the Parliament, as Kwayana said, when he went into Parliament, it was with 1 seat for the WPA in 1985. He said, I'm going to that place to plant the flag of Walter Rodney. We got 38 seats. We can't influence law because we don't have the majority. And so that winner take all has to go. For us in the WPA, we would like it to go before the elections. So we know when the elections are over, whether we get 48% or 58%, we're in the government. We're in the government. And one of our members could be the labor minister. We're out of government. We can't influence what they're doing to the teachers. But if we were in government and the labor minister was a member of the PNC or the WP or the AFC, the teacher, they get their money. Ultimately, these things that go to cabinet. Whether you give the teachers 10% or not, it's not just the Minister of Education deciding that. This got to go to cabinet. And if we are in the cabinet, we are able there to say, no, this is what we think the teacher should get. We are not sharing somebody's power. We are just affirming our own power. You can't give us 200 and something thousand votes. And we sit down in the opposition. We can't make any input in decision making. That's craziness. And it must stop. Look at what the PPP is doing with a 1-seat majority. And we can't do nothing within the ambit of the law. That is why our people are on our case to go on the streets, because that's the only thing open. Because we cannot effect change within the system. So we've got to change that system. Sisters and brothers, we have to get more serious than we are, because I know we're serious already. We forget more serious. And we are beginning to lay our plans on the table. And as I've clarified in the past week, the naming of our presidential candidate and that does not mean that we're not going as part of the coalition. We are just putting our leadership team in place. If we are going to go as a coalition, we have to provide our list of candidates. We have to provide our list of policy areas when we sit down to do the manifesto. And because none of us has participated in an election on our own, neither the AFC, neither the WPA, neither the PNC, since 2015, none of us has participated in an election on our own. So we can't come to the table and say, this is what we are worth. We know the PNC is the biggest party, and history has shown that they will have the biggest opposition support. Nobody can question that. We don't do independent polls, so we don't know what each party is worth. And so people do party polls. I know the PPP does polls all the time. I'm sure the AFC said they're going to do polls. But AFC is going to poll for itself. It's going to poll to see its own strength. The AFC is not necessarily going to poll to see the strength of the WPA or the strength of the PNC. And so in the absence of real independent polls, in the absence of us having participated in election on our own for the last decade, then we have to depend on other means of showing our worth and our strength. And one of the ways is for you to empower us. I see comments here that are very uplifting to us in the WPA. We welcome the comments here, comments of support. And we are saying some of you may want to go one step further, is to come in and join as members or as supporters of our party. We're going to continue tomorrow night. We come back again. I think tomorrow night Dr. Jeffrey is going to be here. And Wednesday night is Black People Night. So we're going to be talking about Black people's story. So we are on the way this week. And so I'm going to see you all tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. And we are going to continue. We're going to continue to plug away. Never mind. I see John Jones here is still in the old time talk about a party died when Walter Rodney died. The party gets strong after Walter Rodney died. When Walter Rodney died, WPA didn't have party groups. Because remember, we were a pressure group in 1979. And there was not even a thought of becoming a political party after Rodney and Rupnarayan and others were arrested. And we were forced to become a political party. And given this security situation, we couldn't have party groups. And I hear people say that now, when Walter Rodney died, the party there, when Walter Rodney died, the party wasn't even a proper party. The party became a proper party after Walter Rodney died. But people hear this nonsense and they repeat it. Walter Rodney's greatest value was that Walter Rodney was leading a national movement. And that national movement suffered when Walter Rodney died. Walter Rodney was bigger than WPA. It is the movement that suffered when Walter Rodney died. The party continued. The party strengthened. I know that because I was part of helping to build party groups going around the country. And so people talk. What David Rudder said, Caribbean people, that is the root of our problem. Yak sometimes. And in this day and age, people must not repeat stupidness that you hear. Walter Rodney was leading a national movement against the government at the time. And when he was assassinated, that national movement suffered. The WPA continued. WPA became a real party after then. But yet people, yak. The WPA began to decline with the return of free and fair elections when our multiracial base, Africans went back to the PNC, Indians went back to the PPP. That is after 92. Not when Rodney died. WPA began to decline after 1992 because you couldn't be a multiracial party without a multiracial constituency. And what we are doing now is saying that in this new era, the era of the petro state, where our politics now have moved towards more coalition politics and so on, that we have something to offer in this era, that we have readjusted the party new era. So those of you who say that nonsense that the party died when Walter Rodney died, please stop it. The party was not even a proper party when Walter Rodney died. What we had when Walter Rodney died was a movement. And the movement suffered. But the party survived and got stronger after Walter died. So I just want to set some facts When Corbyn realized, finally said, look, the PNC can't win these people on their own, who did he turn to? Which party did he turn to? The WPA. The WPA. The PNC in 2006 got 34% of the vote. They lost votes to the AFC. Corbyn then turned to the WPA. We formed the APNU. And the APNU vote went up from the 34 that the PNC had to 44 in 2011. All the votes from the AFC came back to the APNU. The AFC got votes from the Indian Guyanese community in 2011. So people should stop trapping and get serious. We're not in competition, John Jones. We are not. It's competition, and competition may get all of we out of power. God bless Robert Corbyn. God bless Robert. He had the vision. The vision. The vision. And we need vision today to put power back in our hands. Not stupid talk. We need vision. And we need accommodation for all forces. See you all tomorrow night when we come back to continue the struggle.